behind bars.
This is the prisoner visiting area where families and children of all ages come to visit their fathers. And of course, the visitors aren't criminals and are treated as politely as possible, even to the extent that signs say, please help those you are visiting by not supplying them with drugs. And yet, this prison had to ban people bringing in their own buggies like this. Why? Because this was the main way that drugs were getting into this prison. Another extraordinary live look at life inside.
Good morning. They have special cells. They wear fluorescent clothing and they're watched 24 hours a day. They're the E-men, and E means escape.
And prisoners pumping iron. We discover why the officers here think it helps to prevent violence in jail. We talked about a lot of things in the prison this week, all kinds of areas of prison life. Perhaps the one thing we haven't talked about in any detail is escaping. It's because it's not, you can imagine, a popular subject amongst the officers. But we're going to come and meet someone now who has escaped once and has tried to escape quite dramatically on another occasion. Come inside here. We'll meet Mickey, who's on a life sentence, aren't you?
Yes, that's right.
OK. The attempt that you made that was foiled, tell us about that.
That was in Dartmoor, 1989. I was there for 12 months and then I'd had enough things getting on top, so I decided to try and escape. So over the course of a few weeks I got some escape gear together, quantity of rope. I got a grappling hook made up in one of the workshops there. I got some clothes out of one of the boys out of the main stores. And then over the weeks I made my plans and planning to go one night. And then unbeknown to me, one of the guys at the prison had got out on home leave, and he refused. He rang up the prison, refused to come back, saying that he was being bullied by some of the cleaners on the wing. But
They did a search of his cell, didn't they?
yeah.
And found a kid?
Yeah. After this guy phoned in, they spun all the red bands on the wing. I was a trustee at the time, and before they came in, I had put the grappling hook together, and all of a sudden the door came open and members of staff come in and found a large quantity of escape gear.
Found a kid. And that was the night you were actually going to go out?
Yeah, it was.
You actually, I'm surprised. Why would you want to do that? Because you know that you're then going to be on the run for the rest of your life. So, you know, and they're going to catch up with you eventually, aren't they?
Yeah, but it was a chance I was willing to take because I was 4 or 5 years into a life sentence.
Right. The other time that you went out, you actually did manage to escape before, or it was more of an abscond, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was an abscond in 1998 from Sudbury Open Prison up in Derbyshire.
And you were back within 2.5 weeks?
Yeah, but I voluntarily handed myself in.
Why is that?
I was having pressure from my family.
To come back in?
Yeah, you know, because the police were around their houses every day, and they was having grief and hassle.
It's the other interesting thing. Now, this is something I didn't know, that if you are given a life sentence, you're always on a life sentence.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
You served how long in jail?
I served 22 years. I was released May last year, but before I was released, I had to sign a life licence that had restrictions on it, which covered me for the rest of my natural life.
For the rest of your life. So you're still on a life sentence even when you're released out into the community?
Yes. And
if you do anything wrong, they can pull you back in, which is what happened to you?
Yeah, I had a few silly charges. I got done for drunken assault and resisting arrest, and I was really...
That's it, and then pull you straight back into continuous sentence in...
Yeah.
There you go, that's something I didn't know. Oh, that's very interesting. I'm going to pop outside because we're going to chat to Dean. Where's Dean? Oh, there you are, Dean. Dean's going to show us some of the things associated... This is the cell that we're sat in over there is an escape-proof cell.
Yes, it is, yes.
In what way?
Well, all cells in the establishment are escape-proof. What makes this cell unique is that it's located on the Threes landing. There's accommodation above, accommodation below, and either side of the cell. Also, with this cell, if an inmate was to ever gain access to the outside, he would gain access to a sterile area and an enclosed area.
Because that's the inside of the prison there, and that's the wall over there.
Yes, it is, yeah. Therefore making it more difficult for him to escape.
It just seems strange when I was told this. We're going to see in a escape-proof cell. Surely they're all,
yes,
aren't they?
Yeah.
Ideally.
They are, but all the cells are of an escape nature.
Okay. And they wear... Now, people who have shown a tendency to try and escape are given... are watched very carefully for a start, aren't
yes,
they?
Yes, they are, yeah.
They'll put on a special escape... What do they call them?
E-list prisoners.
Or E-men?
Or E-men, yes.
Is that right? They're known as
yeah.
E-men. And E-men, it sounds like a superhero. E-men are quite the opposite, obviously. Actually have to wear a specific outfit.
Yes, they do, yeah. They wear some E-men clothing, or the term known in prison is patches, for the reason that they have yellow patches on the items that they wear.
Right. Oh, hang on. There's some bits down there.
That's okay.
To be honest, I mean... It's very bright. What's the purpose of how does this help? It actually looks slightly camp, to be honest.
It's so that they're easily identifiable from the other prisoners on the wing.
Now, the other thing that we're going to show you, now, if you were watching earlier on the week, I showed you this rope. If we stretch, I'll tell you what, do you want to take one end?
Yeah.
And you wander off, and that'll give you an idea. You could keep going, because then we'll get this in shot. This is a rope that I showed you earlier on the week that was made out of bed sheets and was actually used in an attempted escape. How was it used?
The escape attempt occurred in November 2002. It involved two prisoners. They gained access to the grounds, obviously with this rope. They went to a particular section within the wall, threw this item over the wall, and proceeded then to climb the rope. Staff obviously spotted what was going on. By the time the staff could get to them, one prisoner was already on top of the wall, and the other was attempting to climb the rope.
Yeah, interesting. I think lots of things have changed since, and it's impossible to do this kind of thing now. Fascinating. Although it was interesting that one of the senior officers said to me, if you're doing that rope thing this morning, you make sure it goes back. It's interesting stuff, don't you think, Nadia?
Yeah, give that back right now, in front of us. Right, now, all this week, we've been speaking to convicted criminals and the staff who have to look after them in prison. But the authorities here say there's one other voice that needs to be heard, the voice of the victim.
I entered a shop, walked up to the counter, asked the cashier, the person behind the counter, for change. And when the till was opened, I leaned over and put my hand in the till and ran out of the shop.
We've got the second highest rate in Great Britain compared to the rest of mainland Europe for putting men into prison. You know, the prisons are jam-packed full. We see reoffending rates. In Cardiff, 67% reoffending rates. Restorative justice challenges the traditional way of looking at things because the offenders are going to come out. Whether we like it or not, they're going to be our next-door neighbours. They are members of our communities. There needs to be another way. Exactly who their victims.
The Sorry scheme gives prisoners a chance to apologise to society for their crimes.
It's about the victim. It's all about the victim.
This group of visitors all have one thing in common. They've all been victims of crime.
I was in my house at the time and somebody had broken into the house through the upstairs window. I'd actually heard a noise and I'd gone up to investigate what was going on, and I come face to face with a young guy.
Today, Jason will have to say sorry to people like Tracy.
The offender freely volunteers to go on the course. There's no brownie points for doing it. It's not a parole condition. It's absolutely voluntary.
At any point, if you feel unsafe or you need to speak to anybody, there's 6 tutors present and officers in the background, and we've got a room you can go to if you need some time out, because it can be very emotional.
The offenders expects, the questions we get from the offenders are, are they searched before they come in, the victims, because that's the pattern they would have had outside. And for victims, fearful because they've been harmed and damaged.
This is the moment of truth for Jason. In front of a room full of victims, he apologises for his crimes.
An apology is really a powerful thing, and it changes the offender, it changes the people listening when it's genuine.
One of the things a lot of offenders do is they blame their offence on family upbringing and stuff. Does that have anything to do with you, or
I don't blame anyone for my
just your own?
I take responsibility for everything. That's nice to hear, actually, because a lot of people would probably use other members of the family or friends as an excuse.
Yeah.
You haven't.
No.
That is nice to hear.
That's something I wouldn't do. I don't
Because
blame anyone.
you blamed yourself totally.
Blame myself totally.
Yeah.
My opinion has changed very differently towards these young lads that are locked up. Because that you could see it takes so much to get onto the programme as well, and they have to be sorry for what they've done and prove their points over.
I feel the course has really opened my eyes to the suffering and, you know, the psychological damage that can be done to victims.
It's kind of introducing the possibility of change. You know, we do believe you can change. We really do believe you can change, and we will help you.
Now, Jean, you're a civilian, but you work here in the prison. I think the first thing I have to ask you is why? Why would you choose to work in a men's prison?
Because at first it was a challenge. Lots of different ages, different varieties why they're in, and different personalities.
And how long have you been here now?
7 years.
And you really love it here, don't
Yes,
you?
I do. Yes.
What is it that you like most about it?
I think just the challenge and the variety of work that we have every day.
And you're pretty good on sussing out the men's moods here, aren't you? You have your little techniques.
Yes, most of the time.
And what are some of your techniques?
Sometimes when you watch with their hairstyles and that.
The hairstyles?
Yes, when they come in, and sometimes their hair is really clapped to their head, gelled.
And what would that mean about their mood?
They're not in a very good mood today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And sometimes with one prisoner, his was fine. If he just washed it, he was lovely, nice mood. But the days that he had his hair clapped to his head, he was in a bad mood.
He was in a bad mood.
Yes.
Now, there's an awful lot of men in here, actually, because you've got the breakfast packing just down there, and there's about 20, 30 men in there as well. There's you here, usually, just on your own, every day. And there's just one other civilian guy over there.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? Because, I mean, just yesterday we were starting off the programme and suddenly everything went crazy, the alarm went off. How do you feel when that happens in the prison?
It's fine because we are trained in that respect. I mean, if anything knocks off or anything, so there's alarm bells. The security are very quick in coming to our aid. And a lot of the times the inmates will come and help us if we need.
Okay.
I think
really?
They would, yes, I think they would be
Really?
on our side.
What do you think that the women here offer to the prison? Why do you think it's good that you're here, really?
I think it boosts their morale. I think they work on a more even keel. We're there like as a sort of mother figure.
Do you see
a
yourself
doctor-
as that then?
Yes.
Do you?
Yeah. I listen to them and listen to their complaints if they're genuine, and because we see them different, us different as opposed to the officers.
Really?
Yes, the civilians are a wee bit different.
Do you ever worry about them? We'll whisper so they don't hear. Do you ever worry about them?
No.
No. You never take it home in your head and think, that guy, he was a bit young, he looked a bit vulnerable, he looked... No?
Not to that extent, no.
No. Has anything ever kicked off here?
Yes.
Has it? And can you think of a particular incident?
There was an incident in the toilets one day, and a very young inmate and an older one. And the young inmate, he was really, really quiet, but the older one tended to be a bit of a bully. So this day, the young inmate went into the toilet and he started to fight with the older one. And he had his scissors and everything, so then we pressed the bell because it was so
that's
quick.
Big panic.
Yeah.
Okay, I just very quickly want to go to Ben. Ben? Hi there, Ben.
Right.
What do you think would happen if something kicked off here? What would happen here with Jean?
I don't know, I think she'd be all right.
You'd look after
Yeah,
her? You
we'd
think?
look after her. No, definitely. Yeah.
And how's your hair today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Jean can tell your mood by your hair, guys.
No, that's all right.
All right, listen, thanks ever so much. Jean, thank you ever so much. Nick, over to you.
Very interesting stuff. Now, whether you think that prisons should be for rehabilitation or retribution, everyone agrees the system will have failed if prisoners keep coming back, and they're far more likely to do that if they can't get a job.
Can Victoria Sharrett report to P.O. Stephen in the resettlement unit. Victoria Sharrett to P.O. Stephen in the resettlement unit. Thank you.
Vicky's about to find out if she'll be allowed a special licence to do voluntary work outside of the prison.
Right, do you know why you're here?
Yes, I've come to get my answer about my outwork.
Right, okay. What work have you done since you've, prior to coming into prison?
Oh, never had my own business. I've worked in a bank. Right. My dad's an accountant, so I can do any office work.
It's a long way from packing screws, Vicky's current job at Drake Hall.
I'm in here because I got arrested for intent to supply unknown person with Class A drugs, cocaine and heroin. It was the biggest mistake I made of my life.
Outwork is a privilege that prisoners have to earn, and Vicky has to prove she can be trusted not to take drugs.
You will be placed on the voluntary testing scheme. If you fail to provide, if you fail to turn up for a test, we will take you off
I've
the
never
scheme.
done that.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
Right, okay. So would you say you've got a fairly good work ethic?
Yeah.
You can get out of bed and go to work?
Yes.
What are you going to do if somebody asks you to bring some stuff back in?
Tell one of the officers.
Right. Well, that's what I would expect you to do, okay?
If she does get the placement, it will help prepare her for her eventual release.
You can't just fling somebody out of the gates and expect them to get on with it. What you're going to do, the first thing you're going to do is go back to crime again, and I don't want to do that.
So, I mean, I'm happy with everything I've got in front of me. You passed the board, your probation's up for it.
Yeah.
So I think we'll put you onto the scheme.
Okay.
For voluntary work.
Right, thank you, sir.
Okay, no problem at all. See you later.
But before she can do voluntary work, Vicky has to go through a nerve-wracking job interview with her future employers.
We'll see Vicky later in the programme. Now, it's Friday, and that means it's canteen day here in Cardiff Prison. It's the day that prisoners receive their weekly shopping orders, and they're delivered directly to the cell blocks, as you can see going on behind me. They sort of set up a little shopping table here. If you look here, there's all the things that people have ordered. All their orders are going through and being handed on to prisoners like so. David Parry-Jones, you deliver and organise all this thing.
Yeah.
It's strange, isn't it? Unusual shopping job.
It's an unusual job, yes. I was a bit taken aback when I went for it in the first place, I must admit. But it's very similar to perhaps the Sainsbury's internet shopping, really. They put in a list. We make sure they've got enough money to pay for that. Bag it up in a little shop we've got within the prison, and then deliver it on site.
I have to tell you, I've been looking down the list. There's a huge list that the prisoners can actually fill out here. And some of the things on here I'm surprised at. For example, razors. Right.
It's been cleared by security.
There are arsonists in this jail, aren't they? As far as I'm aware.
Could well be.
Boxes of matches.
Yeah, I know. They've got to light their cigarettes, I suppose, or something. We sell lighters as well. So, everything that we sell here obviously has to be agreed with the prison, cleared with security, and the prices are then set by CPU, who are the people that let the contract for the prison shops throughout the estate in Britain. So.
You're another civilian, aren't you, that works within this? Strange for you to get used to coming into...
Initially, yeah, it's slightly odd, and obviously you get key turner's finger. Walking up and down, we can have as many as 20 doors between the shop and where we're going and back down to where we're based. But like other things, you get used to it. And,
sorry, I'm just going to interrupt because it's Paul who I was talking to earlier. Have you got your order there?
Yeah, I have indeed.
You got a minute? I'll ask you. Explain to me that this is a fairly important part of your life. Then in here, is it that your weekly sort of shopping?
The essential supplies.
Yeah.
I don't buy an awful lot, but I buy just enough to, make life a little bit more pleasant.
And it's interesting, a pack of cheesy cheddars presumably is a much bigger deal to you in here than it ever was on the outside.
Oh yeah, I probably wouldn't eat them on the outside.
And this is a list of foods that you can't just order anything that you want from outside in the outside world. It's not like you can pick up an Argos catalogue and choose stuff from that, presumably.
It's a lot better than I thought it would be. You can't order anything, but there's always something close to it.
Can you order from... So someone actually just was nodding over there. You can order from an Argos catalogue, is
You
that
can order from Argos, yeah.
It's right in here. So the catalogue comes in, you choose your stuff, and
It's only certain items you're allowed to order.
Huh?
There is a list of things you're allowed to have in the prison. You can't order anything that's not on the list.
There's all kinds of things. I'm surprised here as well. You've got to earn your money, though, haven't you?
You have got to earn the money,
So
yeah.
you've got to work in here in order to earn money.
And then you can spend it.
And then you can spend it, which means playing by the rules and being a good prisoner.
Being a good prisoner.
Yeah, interesting. And I'm surprised as well, there's things like hair gel and hair products and...
There's even incense.
Incense? Really? I'm surprised that you'd want to put hair products in... I mean, what's the point in prison?
I don't personally use them.
Do you not?
No. Just have my hair cut short and a bit of water.
All right. That's a very interesting, Paul. Sorry, I'll let you get back to your cheesy cheddars.
Thanks so much.
There you go, OK. Surprising list of stuff, wouldn't you say, Nadia?
Absolutely. And I just wanted to show you guys something here that is very surprising as well, that are all made in the tailor room here. I mean, look at this, the detail on that. Tiny little stitching. And the prisoners here make these for their children, don't they?
Yes.
And actually, these cards and things, they can
made
sell
for
here.
Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Yes.
How do you feel about all this stuff that's made?
I think it's good. It's good for their morale, and it keeps them in touch with their family. They've actually done something for them when they've been in here, so it's nice. And the quality is excellent, as you can see.
And for you, it's seeing how well they can do stuff as well, isn't it? When it's something that they really care about.
Yes.
Yeah. A good
It's
part
nice.
of your job. OK,
Yeah,
thanks,
thank you.
Jean. Right, now, you can be sent to prison here in Cardiff for as little as a day, and sentences of 28 days are fairly common. But can short, sharp sentences really work?
Mostly, grip boy. I like to give a tank it. Go get grip.
Michael Price had the shock of his life when he was sent to prison for failing to pay over £12,000 worth of driving fines.
In 2004, I didn't have a licence, and I was driving around with no MOT, no insurance, no tax. I was doing that for about a good few months, and then I finally caught up with me then. They done a stop check and they had me for it.
Although Michael had missed 3 months' worth of payments, the last thing he expected was to be sent to jail.
My body just went all numb. I just didn't know what to think. Just shocked more than anything. I was expecting to go home. My partner, she wasn't expecting me to go down either, and she was crying. My first night in here was long. Way too long. First 2 nights I didn't sleep at all. Prison life's not for me. We banged up 23 hours of the day. There's better things to do than being in prison, like seeing your family, the people you love.
With less than 24 hours to go before his release, Michael takes his last walk around the exercise yard.
Today's, I don't know what it's going to be like. It's going to be the longest day, though, in my life. I'm looking forward to proper meals and see my partner and friends and my son.
The next morning, and Michael's wait is almost over.
Well, I've got insurance and that now, fully comp now, and I've learnt my lesson, and I'm not coming back here again. Yeah, I'm going home now to surprise my girlfriend, because she doesn't know I'm coming out yet. So she thinks I'm coming out Friday. I should have a shock when I get home. It's my first time in prison, and it's definitely going to be my last.
So, Steve, how often do you come down here to the gym?
3 to 4 times a week.
And for how long each time?
An hour a session.
And what do you get out of it?
Enjoyment.
Yeah?
It gets rid of all my aggression and anxiety.
Really?
Yeah.
Would you really suffer if you didn't come down here today?
Yeah.
And are you big? Because you've got very big muscles there. Are you bigger than you were when you were outside?
Yeah.
Much bigger?
Yep.
Okay, well, listen, I'm just going to go and talk to Paul. Hi there, Paul.
Hi, all right?
I have to say that I'm sure a lot of people would ask, is that a wise thing to do? To actually get the prisoners bigger? Because there's a lot more of them than there are of you.
It's a question we regularly ask, to be honest with you. It's all part of the cycle of change. When they're out in this community, maybe taking drugs, not looking after themselves, they come into prison, we try and give them some kind of decent, structured lifestyle.
Right.
And the gymnasium, getting fit and well again, so they're able to function in society, is a big, big part of it.
And does every prisoner have the right to work out?
Every prisoner is entitled to, legally, entitled to have 1 hour a week gymnasium.
Right.
As they behave themselves in prison, as a bonus, they're allowed to train in up to 3-4 times a week then.
Yeah, still, some people might say, well, why should they be allowed to work out? Is it beneficial for the prison as a whole?
Without a shadow of a doubt. What we're looking at is 750 male prisoners living in close proximity on top of each other. So here they're able to get away from the workshops, their cells, maybe go on a game of football, basketball, lift some weights, gets rid of that aggression and frustration.
Yeah, well, Steve back there was saying that it gets rid of aggression, and I don't think I'd like to be opposite Steve when he is aggressive. Do you think it cuts down on fights? Because those cells are tiny, aren't they? 2 big guys like that in one cell.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. But again, doing a game of football, maybe they can still have a little bit of pent-up frustration that comes out. But
okay. Now, it's not just the prisoners that you work with here. What's this going on with all the guys in the white t-shirts?
Yeah, what we got 6 of the
wow.
Welsh needs the special needs Welsh powerlifting squad that comes in once a week every Wednesday. The prisoners are used to help load, spot and watch over the lifters. We use a buddy system, so the same lifters will work with the same prisoners, so they get a little bit of consistency during their time.
So there's a bit of you giving something back to the community?
Without a shadow of a doubt. We bring the community in, so again the prisoners will have some form of link to the outside as well.
Okay, well listen, thanks very much for letting us down. I always feel a little ill when I'm in a gym, I have to say.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and I don't tend to go near gyms either. I think sometimes you can become overdeveloped muscularly, can't you? I think it's important to stay human. Now back to Drake Hall in Stafford, a semi-open prison with a regime that couldn't be more different from here at Her Majesty's Prison in Cardiff.
Former drug dealer Sarah's been working in the prison shop longer than some of the staff. Sandy, also a drug dealer, was Sarah's neighbour on the outside, but they never knew each other. It was only in prison that the two women met and became friends.
44, 45, 46, 47.
Right.
Correct. Sandy moved on to the house I was on at the time, and I just stuck my head around the door and said hello. And I think you said something funny back, and I took the piss, basically. And we hit it off.
In prison, the pair have discovered a shared love of painting, and the authorities have allowed them to convert one of their adjoining cells into a small studio.
Welcome to the room. This is the studio, my sitting room, my
bedroom. Yes, yours. She goes next door to sleep.
This is where we do our painting. The small stuff, anyway. The big stuff we take in the association room.
Sarah has one end of the bed and I have the other.
Yeah.
We pull our easels round. And
we get stuck in.
Paint.
Sarah and Sandy both received long sentences for their crime, but they both say that missing out on their kids growing up is even harder punishment.
When I was arrested, my son had just completed his GCSEs, so I missed the celebrations of him looking for a uni place. The fact that he's done that all on his own, I'm quite proud of him.
So it's not like your children have left home.
Mm.
You've left home. They haven't.
Yeah.
And that's not in the social order of things.
No.
Your children are supposed to grow and leave you, not you leave them.
So you actually get a great feeling of guilt when that happens.
Yeah.
Because the roles are reversed. Basically, your children are taking on what you do if they're older. So it's not something I'd wish on anybody.
No.
But the prison authorities now believe that these ex-drug pushers may have a role to play in helping some of the younger prisoners who are going through drugs rehab.
We do feel like mother hens on the house. I think that's because we're the oldest ones on there.
Sandy and Sarah have taken the place in hand, tidied up the living room and even done a bit of decorating.
Well, it started when rehab had new settees and we inherited their old ones. And we'd got so many pieces of work. We got permission to have some hung in here. The girls seem to like it, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. General opinion is that it's more homely. Less austere.
But it will be a good few years before these two offenders are allowed to be real mums again.
I've just popped out to the front of the prison because we've seen how prisoners are checked at all times for contraband. They're searched and they're kept an eye on. But, of course, anybody coming to visit the prison has to go through stringent tests as well to make sure they're not bringing anything in weapons or drugs or whatever it happens to be. And these are how they go through it. This is a biometric test. You fingerprint as soon as you come in, check that you are who you say you are. You then pass through this side and back out here, where we can see Sean, who's coming in to visit today. I'm going to squeeze past out of the way. Is being checked at the moment. What is it you're looking for when you check a visitor?
Drugs, most probably, but if they had weapons or whatever on them, you'd be searching them for weapons as well. We've had some people bring drugs in, hide them underneath in their bra, and they get very distressed when they're caught with them on.
And in their mouth, or do they carry it?
Yes, they can carry it in their mouth or up underneath their hairline, and so you check the hair, you know, anywhere that they could conceal anything in their waistband if they had a large belt on. Also, we've recently had drugs found under large rings, so we now take any large jewellery off.
OK, how long will a test on each visitor take, generally?
30 seconds to a minute.
OK, have you checked Sean through?
Yes, I have.
Are we OK to go on?
Yes, you are.
OK, we'll step on this way. You've got stuff to pick up there. OK, you then go through a door you only get part way through. We'll see if we can actually have this open. Can we go through? How does it... I'll get you through in here. Whilst we wait for the other door to come over this side, so whilst we wait for this door, just... How does it make you feel going through these checks?
Through there, horrible. Especially with claustrophobic. It takes a while to open.
Do you get the sense that that although he's actually committed the offence, you're having...
I'm the convict.
You're the convict,
Yeah.
because of all this you go through. How often do you do this?
5 times a month, maybe 6 times a month.
How long do you know him before he went in?
As I know him.
How long have you been going out with him?
I've been going out with him 2.5 years.
And he's in for how long?
5 years.
That's a long time.
Very long
Are you going to wait for him?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
OK, where do we go next? You know this routine better than I do. We're out, doors open.
We've just got to go through here to the usual routine with the dog search.
Right.
And that's just for legal drugs.
Okay, come forward, stand on the line for me, please. And if you can stand on the line behind the lady,
You want me on one as well?
Please, yeah.
OK.
Okay, hands by your sides, keep nice and still.
Do you get nervous when this happens, Sean?
Very nervous, yeah.
You haven't brought anything in, though, have you?
No.
Have you ever brought anything in?
No.
Would you tell me if you had?
Yeah. I hate
Okay,
that
thank you, that's lovely.
How often are you successful with these things?
Stop somebody approximately once a day.
Really?
On a session.
Do people try and stop the dog guessing?
They can do. They use perfumes, different sprays, but then we become aware of that.
And you
then
keep an eye on them?
then keep an eye on them.
All right, smashing. Are we free
to go? Yeah.
That's it now, is it? As quick as that?
Yeah.
All right, Sean, look, just before you go, I know you're in now. Thank you very much for letting us come with you, and so I hope you have a successful visit.
Thank you.
On you go.
Up in Drake Hall Prison in Stafford, prisoner Vicky's been packing screws in the prison workshop throughout her sentence, but she's now been given the opportunity to work outside the prison walls.
Oh, did you drop your glasses then? Come on.
Vicky's been doing regular voluntary work in the prison gym, but she's just been given permission to do some volunteering on the outside for a couple of days a week.
30. 1, 2, 3. 30. To go out and work is really good, yeah, because when you've been in a place for so long, when you've been in confined walls, it's good that you get the opportunity to work outside with the community, and that re-establishes you for when you get released.
After a successful interview at a nearby riding school, Vicky wants to make a good impression on her first day.
Right, my jumper, my top and my trousers. Right, I'm going to sort my boots out for tomorrow, make sure they're nice and clean and tidy, because it's my first day. Oh, they don't look too bad.
Endon Riding School's been taking on prisoners as volunteers for the past 2 years.
I was worried when we first had the ladies from the prison, because at the time the Bad Girls programme was on television, and I thought, oh my goodness, what are we letting ourselves in for? But the officers from Drake assured me that the girls that we were getting had worked hard to earn, and that sounds a strange word, earn the privilege to come and work here. And once we met them, we realised that they were only human.
Leslie's going to be showing you round. I know you had a brief look at the interview, but Leslie's going to show you round now. So I'll leave you in her capable hands.
All right,
okay,
Debbie.
Thanks.
All right. The first thing we're going to do, Vicky, when we come into the stable, if you see there's some piles of muck in the stable,
Yeah.
and there's hay on the floor, so basically we're just going to remove any muck, any hay out of the bed. So when you've got
A lot of the work is repetitive, and you've got to go out there in all elements, and you've got to feed them, you've got to muck them out, there's sweeping, there are wheelbarrows to be pushed, there are bales to be moved, and basically it is hard work.
This time we're going to let you have a go on your own.
Okay.
So I'm just going to come in with you and help you tie him up, and then you can get him mucked out on your own this time.
Okay. Okay.
I hope she'll enjoy it, I hope she'll gain in confidence and basically sort of continue climbing that ladder into the outside world.
It's been hard work today, but I've really enjoyed it, and it's something I like doing, and it's getting me back out into the community.
Now, I've just been chatting in the workshop there to Jean, who works every day with all the men here. How many of your staff that come in contact with men are actually women?
Those that actually come into contact with the prisoners is about 15%, and that's less than ideal. I'd prefer it to be a bit more than that.
Oh, really?
But,
why?
Well, it brings normal life into prison, really, as you will have seen from Jean, I'm sure, although I didn't see it. It brings normality, just as in women's prisons, having men and decent role model men present contributes a lot to normality.
When you say normal, do you mean that you don't want people to become institutionalised, basically?
That's right. It's cross-gender postings, as the jargon is. Haven't been with us for many decades, put it that way. And when they were first proposed, there were quite a few raised eyebrows amongst long-serving prison staff. But if you had been able to experience, as when I first came in, what a sort of macho, militaristic culture it was, you'd certainly spot the difference when there are plenty of women around.
Oh, right. Interesting. Well, listen, we want to thank you ever so much for letting us be here all week. We've had an absolutely fascinating time, and I know you played a big part in letting us be here, so thank you very much.
Well, glad to have you, and glad we've been able to show what a class act the staff at Cardiff are. So
certainly are. Listen, thanks ever so much, and we're going to go back over to Nick now.
Yeah, I have to say, genuinely, the thing that surprised me most when I first arrived in the prison, the first day walked in here, was that there were female staff, in amongst the male prisoners. And you'll find the staff with, you know, all the prisoners out on the wing and yourselves in there. But not intimidated or not feeling uncomfortable or in any way, shape or form?
No, it's a normalisation in here. The female staff work among all the men. I think it has some sort of calming effect on the establishment itself. They feel that they're able to speak to females a bit more than male officers.
Do you see that, Andy, when you're actually when you're on the rails, that the women have a calming effect in certain situations?
Yeah, definitely. There's some situations where you may have an argument or something going on, a female member of staff will come along and that argument will just disappear into thin air.
I actually, earlier on in the week, somebody was swearing and I heard another prisoner telling him, don't use that language. Yeah. A prisoner telling a prisoner, don't use that language in front of the female officer.
Yeah, it does show them like they should have some sort of respect for females, so that they shouldn't speak about those things in front of the females. So I suppose it teaches them in a way how to respect females.
What does your mum think about
it?
Seriously?
Mum doesn't really think that much.
Does she not worry about it?
I don't think she knows exactly what goes on in here to worry. I don't know.
I think she might do now.
Yeah, probably.
But we were talking earlier, and you were saying she'd rather you were here than in the police force. Why is that?
I think out in the community, if you're, in here, you're in a secure environment. If you do get into a situation, there is always staff around, very good staff to attend. All you have to do is shout. Out in the community, if you're on your own, basically.
So you could get yourself into trouble without the same support. And we saw actually earlier in the week when we had an alarm, the speed with which, something that you will pride yourselves very much on here is the speed that you can get to an incident, isn't it? Yeah. There's a couple of other things whilst we're here. What are the things you're wearing that are of interest?
My lovely uniform.
Let's start with the baton, which have you ever had to draw the baton?
No, these are quite new in the establishment, aren't they? How long have we had these?
November.
A few months.
We roll out.
Okay. But we can see there. Basically, there's a baton which extends out into a lot.
Into the longer one. These are not allowed to be taken outside the establishment. We have lockers over on the gate, which we have to put them into.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
and round this side here. Now, this is something that I didn't know you carried.
This is a fish knife. I don't know what the proper name for it is.
This is a blade on here. Now, tell us why you carry this on you.
If we do have an incident where someone is hanging, then it's to go in and cut the ligature off on their neck.
That's extraordinary. Today, Andy, I wanted to ask you, we've been talking escape stories today. Have you got any good escape stories?
Nick, there aren't any good escape stories, unfortunately.
From your point of view, of course there aren't.
Definitely not.
It's been an extraordinary week, hasn't it, Nadia?
Hasn't it? We were just chatting about it here. I'd like to stay a couple of more, actually, because I've been amazed about how much I found out, and I want to find out a whole lot more.
And I can tell Nadia's mum, she's been safe all week. It's been perfectly fine. Let me just pop this over like this. Whatever views you had about prisons at the beginning of the week, I hope you've taken something new away from this absolutely unique live look at life behind bars. Cheerio.